start, just in the interest of brevity. My motivation here is I would like to just get something practical and shared idea for a one-pager job description for what an ambassador does. Bart kind of already created that. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of more and more stuff going on. So I love to be here, but I really want to be here where we're delivering value in every meeting. And that's why I really wanted this to be recorded and shared, because that already delivers some value, gets it out the door. That's me. Do we all have the same order on the screen, Natalia? For me, Bart is I'm in the top
144,
left.
Alejandra, Bart, David, Lauren, and Victor.
So it's so completely random. Okay, let's just do call the next person. Bart, motivation for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think my LinkedIn post says it all. For me, it's really about empowering this role as weaver, also because I'm a weaver myself, and the last year's been trying to figure out how to make this something that's more of a professional thing and also brings in consistent income streams. In the beginning, I even didn't know that I was a weaver. So just becoming aware of the fact, like, I'm a weaver, what is it? And to help the world also understand what's the role of a weaver and the importance for creating collaborative and thriving ecosystems. That's something that's very important for me as like the larger thing. And then in a very practical way, I think we can work together in exchanging experience about like how to formalize collaboration. So have like clear agreements or memorandum of understandings and also clear offerings, so that we know how to craft our collaborations. And I think in the longer run, we can expand this also with providing organizations with ambassadorship programs where they can, through one account manager, let's say, tap into a whole collective of weavers. So just drawing a little bit of a perspective of what I'm seeing so far, and very excited to become very practical, like Victor is saying as well. Thank you. Let me pass it to David. Man, go first today.
Amazing. Thank you, Bart. I resonate with a lot of what you've been saying about how we can formalize a structure and perhaps get to make clear to the outside what the weaving skill is and what is the benefit for others. Right now, for myself, the main project that I'm working on is this project in Spain, Portugal based, where I'm looking to find the bridge of funding, and that's a project that's really dear to my heart right now, and looking into ways and collaborations and into inspiration of how to make that kind of work. So that's what's alive for me, and I'm really eager to inspire each other and see where we can collaborate as well.
I'll go next. I'm here because I'm interested in meeting you. I want to meet people who identify themselves as weavers, and for us to understand what does it mean to each of us. For me, it means to connect the dots, and connect the dots in a way that many people might not see, to synthesize different values, languages, and directions of development. And I'm currently also in Portugal setting up a network of locations that are aligned and understanding who would like to follow what is Victor has to present and to share, to make sure that we kind of align a lot of values that I'm sharing with Victor, also aligned between these different land-based projects. Why Victor? Because intuition. I recognize him from the future, and he's a star in my story, so I follow him closely. Happy to be here. Alejandra.
Okay, thank you. I just unmuted. I resonate quite well with what Bart and David said. I realized recently also that all this thing about weaving, and actually it was by Lauren the first time I heard it during the gathering. So thank you, Lauren, for this enlightenment. And since then, I've been like searching more and then discovering that many of us are in the same stage, but at the same time that there is a whole amount of people and networks in the world that are already doing it. So, um, yeah, for this sharing of experiences, maybe people is more experienced in these weaving activities, but we've been doing something else which we can also bring to this and just sharing our experiences, life experiences and professional experiences. And as Bart says, like seeing how we can kind of professionalize it, because as in charity or voluntary work, yeah, we may be happy doing it, but it's not super sustainable. So yeah, if we can make it better and have some standards or some procedures or things joining forces, I would really like that. Well, I pass it to Lauren.
Thanks. Yeah, so I mean, I came across the term weaving for the first time, I think in 2020, in the beginning of the pandemic, where I was starting and I was involved with a project called Weaver Network. And then I became a member of the Weaving Lab, and I came across Network Weaver, and I just got kind of immersed in all these different resources on weaving and seeing that there are a lot of other like-minded people out there that have done weaving. And so I think my motivation for being here is, yeah, to continue the conversation around like best practices for weaving. How do we support each other as weavers? How do we professionalize ourselves as weavers? How do we create financial sustenance and have a regenerative livelihood as a weaver? So that's where I'm at. And I think that's everyone.
If that's everyone, by the way, thanks so much for the post part. You kicked off the inspiration, at least for me, and then for everybody else. And thanks so much for coming, Lauren. You're clearly the Weaver sensei in the room, so it's amazing having you here. So the next circle, and this one I definitely want to go last for, is around value proposition definition. How do we identify measurable impact? And any anecdotes that you might have to support this, I put into the chat, or your own the thing. Yeah, maybe let's just popcorn.
I can start if no one wants to do it. So I identified three categories of stakeholders that can be benefited from this, which is project initiators or organizations, partners, collaborators, and then funders and investors. So I made a list, so I will just read it. For project initiators and organizations, I see that they can get faster access to relevant partners and resources, and reduce research and transaction costs, access to private trusted connections, cross-sector insights and perspectives, accelerated project development, risk reduction through better partner selection, which they all have in common, like a trust, because it's like a referral, no? Like if we are referring someone, they already have this step, like it's easier. Then for partners and collaborators, I saw access to relevant opportunities, increased visibility in new sectors, again, pre-filtered high-quality connections, context and support for collaboration, reduced effort in partnership building. We will be like oiling the relationships, making them things smooth. And then for funders and investors, also better project pipeline, reduced due diligence costs, higher success rate of supported projects, more efficient resource allocation, and access to diverse vetted opportunities. So it's like a pre-curation of what they are analyzing. So that's what I got. For measurable impacts, maybe we can do another round if you think it's okay. Yeah. So I will pass it now to Lauren.
Yeah, so benefits. I think the biggest thing about being a weaver, at least for me, is knowledge and resources and connections. I think that being able to provide organizations and people with the resources they may not necessarily have access to. And when we talk about resources, if you're all familiar with the 8 forms of capital, right? It's not just financial capital. There's also social capital, spiritual capital, financial capital. So weavers tend to have the wherewithal of like knowledge base of like different types of capital that we can be supporting different communities and organizations and people with that they may not have had knowledge or access to. So I feel like that's part of like our strength and also just the robustness of our resources that we have. Yeah, so I'll kind of start with that. And I think in general too, weavers, we can be very social, and we have fairly good social skills. And so as another way to kind of frame it is like, not, we're like the in-between as like a broker, a relationship broker.
Yeah, for me, great value is something that actually technology can do, is reputation, building reputation. Our own, as viewers, networks, reputation, individuals that we're connected with, just what Alejandra said with these 3 different directions, the project's reputation, right? Collaborators and investors, also reputation of investors, imagine. So I think that's kind of what we can be, like the fabric that is set as a foundation that holds a lot of different moving parts. Maybe it's like too spiritual for me to say that, but I feel like we're really like the water that creates the connection between everything, and makes sense also of all these different directions, so that we can potentially co-create a common language that we can agree on. Yeah, David.
Thanks. Yeah, I think what comes up for me is also like the last thing you said, creating a common language about a shared humanity, about this allowing people to see each other more clearly from different perspectives, and being able to just tap into these different perspectives and to mediate these connections being made in a way like water, you would say. Yeah, I think that's for me always the essence of like this role, this also revealing what is important, what is actually the essence of what things are about, and to also perhaps ask the right questions to let go of anything that's a surplus or that's not needed. Yeah. To just crystallize perhaps something as well. Yeah. Art?
Yeah, wow, amazing. So many good things that were shared here already. I love how specific and business-minded you are, Alejandra. It's really nice. Like reduced cost and this. I think it's good to speak that language as well, alongside the more meta stuff. I really love this essence of trust, of reputation, being a broker of connections. I also wrote down, being able to help also organization people to understand like the emerging narrative that they're part of and helping them find their place in that, tapping into trends that are happening. And I think we're also a very valuable source of feedback, identifying what's relevant and, like helping as an fresh outside perspective to help people to direct themselves on their path and make sure that they're most efficient and not doing double work. So yeah, all of these kind of elements. I don't know if there's more to share. I think I'll just I'll just pause there. You guys have said so many good stuff. Thank you. I think Victor, you're last, right?
I'm last. Great. So I do a lot of actually, well, The Gathering is a weaving project, right? I mean, The Gathering comes out of my frustration of so many people feeling alone and unsupported. I really connect with what you said, Lauren, about the 8 forms of capital. And that's where, because, if I want to buy your product, I'll look at your website. And if it's not, I know how much it costs, I know what it does, right? But the relational, right? Are you the kind of person who I'd want to connect and have a relationship with? That is very hard to convey digitally. And I think this is becoming the reason that we're having this conversation and so many of us are stepping into this is because, I mean, we're all kind of, it's this regenerative, new world systems change, pick your vocabulary, game B, right? And I really see that in this new way of collaborating, right? The vision of The Gathering is building regenerative ecosystems of collaboration. So exactly weaving or catalyzing regenerative ecosystems of collaboration. And I think in this new world, relationships are much more important again. And for the first time, the different other forms of capital become much more important. And thus, us as weavers, ambassadors, become much more important and necessary. So I think we're actually integral. We're the mycelium of the regenerative ecosystem, and the old school monoculture, like without us and the work that we're doing functioning well, it's not going to move forward. It just won't. It's like oil in a car. You can run it, but not very long, and it's going to end badly. So actually, I think we're absolutely not the only thing. There's many things which are essential to the regenerative ecosystem. But I think this weaving work in events, in people, in ambassadorship is completely integral. And also something that I'm really interested in, that I'm working on, I see as we move forward, collaborations being more flexible and more dynamic, and people working together fractionally, and different organizations coming together for projects, this kind of much richer different forms, and relationships become important there, and the weaving and the thing. So we are essential.
Can I build on that briefly?
Yeah. I think now we have another half hour. Let's build on it. Let's give ourselves 20 minutes to talk and then 10 minutes for the checkout.
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, what's kind of coming through here for me is that we're also really stewards of collaboration, which is kind of new because people are not used to think like that. Like in the wide scope of what's possible in terms of collaboration, many people are like just in their own organization, that's their bubble. And I think as weavers, we help people also to open up to what's possible in terms of collaboration and to facilitate what's possible when people step into that new culture. And for me, that's really what this new paradigm is about. It's collaboration is key, and we are the ones that hold that culture.
And I think it was important to mention for the events, the human connection, the physical events, what we're hosting now, public communications, transparency, that builds trust, that builds reputation, shared experiences, also very crucial. Historical events that we can look back to and be like, oh, okay, it's been 5 years, 7 years that we've been doing this for, and these are the results and the outcomes. I think it's also important to focus on goals and what we can achieve in general as weavers, because many times I'm seeing my work not being recognized or seen as valuable, or Yeah, yeah, and I'm having a hard time to be able to ask for energy exchange, right? For the kind of work I do, and when I do ask for it, they're like, "Oh, well, what kind of numbers that you can improve? What the KPIs that you can offer here?" And it's cool if we could build up a little bit of more structure to how we approach, or rather share our gifts with organizations without needing to suffer from being unnoticed and disregarded after we make a connection.
Yeah, one thing that's important to note there is that weaving is not a transactional activity. So it's very hard to capture in this thing of like, oh, I do this and you give me that. It doesn't work like that. It's more fundamental. And if we want to be fully seen and valued for our role as weaving, we need to have a more fundamental model for resourcing our work. And I think ambassadorship and referral fees is great, but I feel it's a bonus rather than like, yeah, what's really at the core of what we do.
I think in that sense, like it makes me think an analogy with the ecosystem services. We're a different kind of ecosystem. I'm talking about the natural ecosystems because nature has an intrinsic value, but humanity or economics need to put a value. How do we value ecosystems? Like, are they providing us water? Are they providing us pollination? Are they providing us food or protection for climate or whatever? So, in natural ecosystems, the evaluation of these ecosystem services has taken several decades to, and it's still very reductionistic. So, but still, it's something that it's like one of the few ways that economists or people is like really willing to invest money because they say, okay, biodiversity is important or keeping clean water is important. So maybe this will help also in what we are doing. Like we are bringing value to the ecosystem, but we need to be able to really express it in a way people can understand, and which is not going to be always monetarily. Like, sure, you can make a partnership that will make an organization make some money, but there are much more things that they are getting from these activities of this networking.
Yeah. So, what would be those ecosystem services? Can you give some ideas?
Well, all that we have been discussing now so far, we just need to
we are
summarize.
the ecosystem services.
Okay.
The weaving work is the ecosystem services.
I mean, what are the examples of the weaving work? Let's think about that way. Okay, introductions, right? Events production. I'm feeling. What else?
Resource creation. I say resource creation and dissemination, sharing. So like I think of like being an archivist. It's just like collecting the information and finding the information that's related to what people are working on, and then putting it together, packaging it, and then sharing it in a way that's easy to digest and will help expand on whatever subject matter or support that a particular person, organization, or community is needing.
And
yeah, it's storytelling, which really adds on to what Lauren is saying.
Yeah, good one.
Storytelling, yeah, surfacing stories, and also I usually on things that are really important. Well, actually, any introduction or many introductions that I care about, I usually go past introduction because people are losers and tend to drop it or not do it well. So, especially for really valuable contacts, I don't like just unless I really know somebody and I know that they're good at follow-ups. And if it's a serious business proposition, it's much better value for everybody to steward the process at least till contract signing or some kind of an agreement made. And that's where I think, So in my view, right, the ecosystem is developing and how we collaborate is growing and developing. And then for this, it means that this is why we are becoming more important and the things we do are growing and developing. So if we can bring in standardized forms of building collaborations, that would be a huge value, right? Ambassadorship is how we work with an organization. But for example, something that I'm seeing and I'm trying to get people to do more is cross-posting, cross-sharing, like shared communication, right? Every organization, because everybody's trying to do their own bloody social media and poking away at it, and it's such a grind, right? If you had five, a family of 5 or 10 things, everybody reposts everybody's things, and suddenly, everybody wins. It's a rich info stream. So having standard collaboration formats and bringing that, facilitating that coming in would be, I think, a really cool thing that we could develop that has clear value.
Oh, yeah. I like that as a very specific service offering, like the communication, distribution of whatever kind of material. If you can plug that into a collective of weavers, again, having maybe one account manager, and then that account manager can activate the weaver collective. And it needs to have, I think, a clear model of rewards, distributing rewards for that as well. But I would be very excited to work on that together. I think that's indeed like something that instead of like having marketing budgets that you spend on ads or whatever, I don't know, like activating people that can vouch for your project, like that does so much. It's basically kind of like testimonials for your project in a very public way. It's like, here, hey, look at this project.
That would be like organic marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like validated by people.
Yeah, continuing along the communication vein, something that I'm becoming really religious about these days is build in public. So this idea of you share the journey, and to me, this is integral to ecosystem weaving, right? And it's free and it's easy. All you need to do is build a habit, because all of the social media, we have all of the tools. So helping people, and this is like connecting with the ecosystem knows you exist, what you're doing, what your needs are, what your problems are, right? So helping people build in public culture into their things, supporting them in it, I think is something that's really important. It's a key part of culture change. Yeah, that's what I was had in the back of my mind. I think a key thing as weavers that we do, that we need to bring, is culture change to collaboration by default, open by default.
Exactly.
If I'm trying to do something, my first thought is not like, where do I scrape the money or this? My first thought is, who would my partners be? Who am I doing it with? So this is also, I think, in this building out this regenerative ecosystem of collaboration, building the culture of collaboration, I think is a key part of our role.
I would like to say, like, I'm very interested in this building public. I also feel there is a nuance about distinguishing like what you share publicly and when. So I think this is something that we will have to evolve in. I just want to bring that notion. I think not everything should be just in public straight away, but there is. Yeah,
look, I've been married for 10 years. Marriage is a long training in nuance in communication.
Mm-hmm.
As is any relationship, but yes, of course. And this is also where us as weavers and as experts in this area can bring, once we get good at it, can bring a lot of value to organizations that are trying to do it.
Yes, exactly. I like this. Mm-hmm.
I think we forgot about the last part of the agenda, which is the measurable impacts. Well, we kind of get into it, but not officially. So, well, I can mention some things I thought about, which could be like, okay, we're fostering connections, and then how do we measure how long they go? Maybe, I don't know if it exists already, probably yes, but we can utilize a scale of where did the connection get? Like they just got in touch, they signed some agreement, they are all making projects together, like how many people are they reaching or things, so we can track where our collaborations brought the people that we put in contact. Maybe how much time they save, because if you are alone searching on internet for people, it can take some time, but maybe that's hard to measure. Other things would be like innovation level or knowledge transfer between sectors, which that's where innovation comes from a lot of times, like adopting things from a different sector. Um, and maybe long-term relationship sustainability. So how long do these relationships last, if they last? So that's my idea. So we can measure the impact that we're having by connecting actors. I don't know who wants to add something.
Yeah, maybe in terms of measurable impacts, like we can make very specific the size of the networks that organizations get access to. Especially if we have a collective of weavers, then it's like massive. I would say wasting time or like saving time, like by not duplicating efforts and missing opportunities. Like you get highly curated connections, opportunities, and resources that otherwise might take a long time, or maybe even you're on the wrong track for for a few years if you don't connect and open up with what's happening around you. So yeah, I think we can make a very clear framing around that.
I don't know how to measure it, but I think there is something around collaboration, partnership, success. If it's well woven and you're woven with the right person, your failure rate will be greatly reduced. But unless you have an organization that does a lot of partnerships, it's hard to measure maybe. I would say also, and again, need to think of how to measure it. Better mental health for the organization team members. Because if you don't feel alone, if you feel you're part of a healthy ecosystem, you're healthier yourself. And that is like one of my just fundamental, like, all right, I go to do it, things for the gathering, just being fed up with all of the people feeling alone. Where 10 kilometers away, somebody else is doing a like-minded project and also feeling alone. It's a coordination failure.
Yeah, I think that also what you're saying, like also the sense of belonging, sense of joy that the employees derive from the activities during at the company. But then it also, I feel it needs a shift in perhaps also how companies perceive the value, like the ROI of to what extent is the happiness or the joy of my employee part of the ROI of the company that I'm creating. It's not only focused on money, but it's also focused on social well-being, cohesiveness.
I think it's rising, and even if you don't give a shit about joy, if you have employees that are burning out, that are taking sick leave because of stress, then that immediately hits your books, right? That registers.
Yeah. It reminds me, 6 years ago, I wrote my thesis on how to bring authentic relating into companies. And this was the main issue, like how do you sell that to companies? Like I talked to a lot of HR people, but it was still difficult. But I think it's slowly getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The concept? Sorry, David, can you repeat the?
I wrote my thesis on how to bring authentic relating circle practices, like bring cohesion, authenticity on the work floor.
Maybe
Authentic
you can
relating?
share in the group because I'm sure many people would love to read about it, but it's not quite the topic. Yeah, I mean, this is the don't catch me saying this in public, but this is being recorded. Haha. This is the good positive side of the mental health crisis is it's creating awareness about mental health. And yeah, more and more companies are experiencing this and realizing that, you know,
I like this topic of health. I think that's something important to highlight. We are in a way also the health keepers of an ecosystem. And we do that by kind of also checking all the individual components, be like, hey, is this healthy? You know, like because we want it to be part of this ecosystem, and if it wants to function well, it needs to be healthy. So we're also kind of gatekeepers for that. And maybe one other thing I would like to add, but I feel this is maybe a bit more for the future, and it depends on the kind of weavers we have in our collective. But I think fundraising is also a key topic that we can address very effectively. I'm not very experienced in it yet, but I'm starting to open up more and more into it. And I think this is something that a lot of organizations struggle with. So if we can add this to our service offering, I think we can, it would help a lot with getting, let's say, clients. So if we can get some weavers in this collective that have that as a specific skill set and can help kind of taking on responsibility for that niche, then we all kind of amplify also our value that we can offer to organizations.
I also like to add regarding measurable impact. Share the square meterage of the real estate owned by the network. Something I'm curious to explore and keep track of. Maybe even to fundraising, the amount of money collectively fundraised. And regarding gatekeeping, I would rather call it protection, energy protection, and having a certain model or rather level of consciousness